That had really irritated him. However, Baruka's ability to take on 3 strong opponents alone proved he could be a valuable asset to his team if he had been successfully recruited. Unfortunately, everything hadn't gone as planned, which was why Jin Woo was in such a bad mood earlier. The next day, Jin Ho came to pick up Jin Woo for work. Seeing his little brother's new outfit, Jin Woo could only shake his head. But what really confused Jin Ho was the fact that Song Yi was tagging along today. On top of that, the two seemed unusually close. Watching them interact, Jin Ho was convinced that his big bro must have done something to her. He reminded Jin Woo that Song Yi was still underage, but Jin Woo couldn't care less. As soon as Jin Ho stepped into the dungeon, he nearly had a heart attack watching the Shadow Army do their thing. Dude was straight up shook and had to ask big bro, "Yo, what are these things? Why are they so op?" Jin Woo, cool as ever, just shrugged it off, saying, just one of my skills. You'll get used to it. There's a lot more where that came from." Explaining everything would take too much time, so Jin Woo didn't even bother. Instead, after wrecking the dungeon, he let his shadows handle the looting too, basically stealing Jin Ho's job, leaving the poor guy feeling useless. All he wanted was some light work. But nah, big bro had everything covered. Meanwhile, across the ocean, on a sinking ship, guess who finally made a comeback? Jin Woo's dad, the legendary hunter who had been trapped inside a gate for years. Only problem? He popped up in the US, didn't speak a word of English, and scared the hell out of the local hunters. That night, after grinding through 19 dungeons like absolute maniacs, Jin Woo and Jin Ho hit up a bar as promised. Jin Ho was beyond grateful since, thanks to his bro, he finally got to talk to his dad. Next up on his to-do list? Passing the theoretical hunter exam and getting his guild master license. When he asked about Jin Woo's plans, our MC casually dropped, "I'll be super busy, so don't expect to hear from me." Probably not the best time to say that, since Jin Ho, tipsy and emotional, started spilling his guts, worried that he was just dead weight. He even opened up about his real brother, who's more than a decade older and, well, kinda hates his guts. Compared to that guy, Jin Woo has done nothing but help and protect him. At this point, Jin Ho's just wishing Jin Woo was his actual big bro. Jin Woo, being the unexpected softie he is, poured him another drink and declared, "Fine, from now on, you're my little bro." Cue Jin Ho's emotional breakdown. Dude didn't know whether to cry or chug his drink. Either way, they ended the night on a high note, getting drunk and planning their next moves. Back in the US, since nobody could confirm the mysterious man's identity, they locked Jin Woo's dad up. According to his statement, he had been trapped in the gate for the past 10 years. But somehow it linked up with another gate in the US, something that had never happened before. Naturally, the government was freaked out, worried he might be some humanoid monster. So they called in an S-rank hunter for questioning. Enter Wong Dong-soo, a Korean-American hunter, who at least spoke the language. When he asked for the guy's name, he got the ultimate Korean tongue twister, Sung Il-won. Cut back to Jin Woo, at the crack of dawn. It was time to say goodbye to his little sister. He told Jin Ah he'd be gone for about a week and reminded her to stay safe. She, of course, assumed her bro was taking a well-deserved vacation and maybe even going with someone special, which had Jin Woo rolling his eyes. "I told you, I'm going with a friend." He sighed, but she just kept prying, curious about his non-existent love life. In reality, he was heading to the burning castle to conquer it. Last time he fought Cerberus here, he was only level 20. Now, over 3 times stronger. Theoretically, this place should be a cakewalk. The moment he stepped inside, the system hit him with a quest: wipe out the demons inside. His goal wasn't even here, but hey, might as well farm some XP. The mission required collecting 10.000 demon souls. Absolute insanity. But Jin Woo? He was built different, whether it was 10.000 or 100.000. He was gonna clear this place like a true raid boss. The next day, Jin Ho finally got his guild paperwork approved and had another talk with his dad. He wanted to run the guild himself instead of letting his older brother take over. His dad, seeing how serious he was, agreed, partly because Jin Woo was that guy. Word had already spread about Jin Woo's crazy feats, like wiping out an entire raid team and taking out corrupt hunters. Any hunter who survives 2 death flags isn't just lucky, they're the real deal. On top of that, Jin Woo had just finished clearing all the necessary dungeons for guild approval. Jin Ho's dad had also been keeping tabs on the White Tiger Guild, which had recently lost a bunch of high-ranked hunters after a C-rank gate randomly mutated. The only survivor? Sung Jin Woo. That sealed the deal. Seeing Jin Ho's determination and the fact that his son was friends with a powerhouse like Jin Woo, the old man handed over guild control to him. There was just one catch. He wanted Jin Woo in the guild. White Tiger was already trying to recruit him. But let's be real, that wasn't happening anytime soon. Jin Ho promised to bring his big bro back to the guild, making his dad super happy. Meanwhile, Jin Woo was out there farming demons like a pro. But unfortunately, this dungeon didn't allow necromancy. Otherwise, he'd have an army of demons by now. His only reward? A pass to climb higher. And just up ahead, a pillar of light was practically begging him to step in. Jin Woo realized this dungeon was massive, like an entire city stuffed inside a single tower. To speed things up, he called out his shadow beast. The alpha bear responded immediately, plowing through enemies like a living tank. Jin Woo was so impressed. He officially named it 10H because, well, it is a tank. Meanwhile, S-rank hunter Cha Hae-in was deep in thought about recent events. Normally, when a monster's body is recovered, it's supposed to be reported, but her guild master decided to keep it quiet at the Hunter Association's request. With the world on edge, they needed to recruit more strong hunters before the real battle began. Jin Woo figured this dungeon wasn't S-rank material. The demons here were just B-rank at best. There were a lot of them, sure, but they weren't exactly Einsteins. He had already climbed several floors and brought enough supplies to last. If his guess was right, this place had at least 100 floors. The real question was, just how up would he be by the time he reached the top? The mission to slay 10,000 demons wasn't done yet. But food supplies were running low. He originally planned for a week-long run, but at this rate, it might take 2. Remembering his promise to his sister, he decided to pick up the pace. When he finally collected enough souls, he encountered the area boss. Time to go all in. Jin Woo immediately summoned his shadow army. A red system warning popped up, screaming that this was a real threat. Outside, the White Tiger Guild was desperately trying to recruit Jin Woo. Problem was, he had vanished for a whole week. He, Jin and Sang Min, 2 people who knew firsthand how terrifyingly strong he was, were assigned to track him down. When they asked Jin she just shrugged and said her brother was on vacation. But based on their investigation, Jin Woo hadn't left the country or joined any known raids. Back in the dungeon, Jin Woo commanded his shadow army to deal with the minions while he faced the boss head-on. Igris led the charge, fighting fiercely. Lately, every time Jin Woo leveled up, he dumped points into intelligence, increasing his mana pool and letting him store even more shadow soldiers. Energy-wise, he was leagues above where he had been back in the Red Gate. The dungeon boss was ridiculously fast for its size. Jin Woo dodged and countered, but the red demon was just as stubborn as Cerberus had been. When it got too close, he used Iron's shield to block some hits, but even then, he was tanking hundreds of attacks. Realizing he needed to slow the boss down, Jin Woo played smart, leading it into a trap. The moment it lost control and charged blindly, he used the dust and debris as cover for a devastating finishing blow. Meanwhile, Sung Il-wan came face to face with Wang Dongsu. Dongsu scoffed when he heard Il-wan being called a monster, warning him not to say anything stupid since he was already in a bad mood. But Il-wan wasn't here for nonsense. He had one question. How much did humanity really know about gates and monsters? He revealed that what people had seen was only the tip of the iceberg. Something far more terrifying was about to awaken, something responsible for the worst disasters in history. Dongsu? Yeah, he had no clue what was going on. But Il-wan had only one goal: stop this catastrophe before it was too late. When Dongsu brushed him off, Il-wan made one thing crystal clear: numbers didn't matter. What truly mattered was power, and Dongsu wasn't anywhere near strong enough. Wang Dongsu glanced at the document and asked if the man remembered his own son. Of course, he did. He was the one who named Jin Woo in the first place. The moment Dongsu heard that name, his killing intent flared up. He had been searching for the brat, and now, out of nowhere, fate had thrown him straight into a showdown with the father. That bastard even had the nerve to declare that Jin Woo was dead and asked if there were any last words before things got violent. Meanwhile, Jin Woo had cleared the next set of trials. At this point, even a high-tier monster was trembling at the overwhelming power of his shadow army. But there was one problem: he had completely run out of food. With no supplies left, he had no choice but to stop and regroup. He was currently on the 75th floor, meaning there were still 25 more levels to go. It was exhausting, sure, but the rewards were insane. Massive boss monsters were dropping rare gear that significantly boosted his stats. From what he could tell, he was still missing one key piece of equipment to activate a full set bonus. On top of that, he had picked up a few items that could massively buff mages, making them even more overpowered. Then there was the mysterious key. Its details were hidden, but it had to be important. Jin Woo's ultimate goal remained the same: securing a fragment of the world tree. If he could gather that along with 2 other rare items, he'd finally have what he needed to cure his mother. Jin Woo stepped out of the gate, his face visibly downcast. He was still missing one crucial ingredient to craft the holy water of life. The last item? The purified blood of the Demon King. Of course, obtaining it required meticulous preparation. Thanks to grinding levels in the Demon Castle, his stats and level had risen significantly. However, his official rank was still E, which made accessing high-tier resources a challenge. Participating in advanced raids required joining a guild, but Jin Woo thought to himself that it was time to drop this ridiculous act. He'd be discovered sooner or later. His next goal was clear: to get his hunter license updated. The next morning, Jin Woo arrived at the association headquarters to get his stats reassessed. Coincidentally, members of the White Tiger Guild were there, scouting for new talent. When Yun Ki Chul spotted Jin Woo, he immediately called Baek Yoon Ho, urging him to come in person. Oblivious to this, Jin Woo proceeded with the process, observing a group of nervous newbies speculating about their ranks. Their chatter brought back memories, especially when one of them reassured the others that just being higher than rank E was enough to make a living. Jin Woo couldn't help but chuckle at the comment. When it was his turn, Jin Woo gave his name and details, then placed his hand on the black orb for the test. The device should have displayed his rank automatically, but it flashed red repeatedly. The rookie staff member, unfamiliar with errors, had him retry multiple times before asking a more experienced colleague for help. The moment the red signal appeared again, the veteran instantly recognized what was happening. Jin Woo wasn't breaking the device. His magical power simply exceeded its measurement limits, marking him as Korea's 10th S-rank hunter. Meanwhile, in another room, Choi Jong-in and Jin Chul were discussing a feathered monster. Research teams were dissecting it, trying to calculate its magical power levels. Jong-in remarked how unusual the recent events had been, especially the Red Gate incident involving the White Tiger Guild, where an outsider took down the dungeon boss. Suspicious, Jong-in questioned Jin Chul about the hunter's identity, but Jin Chul feigned ignorance, saying he had left the scene early that day. Back in the testing area, news of Jin Woo's immeasurable stats spread quickly, shocking everyone. Only 9 hunters in history had ever caused such chaos during an assessment. And now Jin Woo was the 10th. Yun Ki Chul couldn't hide his excitement, proud that Sang Min's instincts about Jin Woo were spot on. As the buzz grew louder, Choi Jong-in, nicknamed the ultimate weapon and known as the strongest fire mage, entered the room. All eyes turned to him. He immediately noticed the overwhelming power radiating from Jin Woo and realized this was the cause of the commotion. Seeing a rare opportunity, Jong-in introduced himself and invited Jin Woo for a conversation. Uninterested, Jin Woo brushed past him, saying, "I'm busy." The crowd erupted into murmurs. Jong-in, surprised, thought Jin Woo might not recognize him, but after confirming with Jin Chul that he had introduced himself, it dawned on him, Jin Woo just didn't care. Before Jong-in could react, Jin Woo had already vanished, leaving no trace, showcasing his assassin-like stealth. Just then, Baek Yoon Ho arrived, out of breath from rushing over. Seeing this, Jong-in pieced everything together. The White Tiger Guild's headquarters wasn't even close to this location. For Baek to come all this way, Jin Woo must be incredibly important, and he was right. Jin Woo was the one who defeated the boss of the Red Gate. But learning that Jin Woo had already left Baek disappointed. Worse, running into Jong-in here wasn't ideal. Jong-in was the last person Baek wanted snooping into Jin Woo's affairs. Later that night, Jin Woo visited his mother in the hospital. Seeing her in that state saddened him deeply, but he held on to hope, promising himself that he'd find a cure soon. As he stepped outside, he ran into Jin Chul, who admitted that Jin Woo had completely shattered his perception of hunters. Jin Chul explained that his department oversaw hunter surveillance and discipline. When Jin Woo asked if he was now under surveillance, Jin Chul reassured him it wasn't about committing crimes. His department was the only one capable of keeping hunters in check, but even they had no control over S-rank hunters like Jin Woo. Today, Jin Woo also sought help from Gunhee for a specific reason. He wanted to meet someone. As the person slowly approached, Jin Woo was shocked. The president of the Hunter Association, Gunhee, was indeed an extraordinary individual. First, he congratulated the young and talented man on being confirmed as an S-rank hunter. Although the news hadn't been publicly announced yet, it was certain Jin Woo would have to undergo additional evaluations, but the results would barely change, so there was no need to worry. The reason for the extra evaluations was partly to buy time for this meeting to happen. It gave the association a chance to reach out to a talent like Jin Woo before he decided to join one of the 5 major guilds. Unfortunately, many powerful hunters often choose not to work with the association, instead being drawn to the income and prestige offered by the top guilds. The director standing beside him was one of the rare exceptions, someone ranked at the top of a rank who still joined the association. Without delay, the old man got straight to the point. He wanted to invite Jin Woo to join them, to stand side by side with the association. If Jin Woo agreed, Gunhee would prepare an important position for him. When asked why he should accept the offer, Gunhee explained that the people truly protecting the country weren't the government but the hunters, who safeguarded civilians from monsters. At the center of it all were the 5 major guilds. Luckily, a fragile balance between these giants was being maintained. But if Jin Woo joined any one guild, that balance would be destroyed. The Hunter Association served as the 6th force to keep the guilds in check. This demonstrated the critical role Gunhee and his organization played. Gunhee believed that Jin Woo joining the association would be the best course of action. Not only could they intimidate the 5 guilds, but they could also maintain stability. Deep down, Gunhee thought that if Jin Woo joined, one day he might even relinquish his position as president to the young man. Jin Woo acknowledged that the proposal was not a bad one. Having a spot in the association would guarantee his rise. Outside of the government and the media, no one had the authority to touch President Gunhee. Not to mention, Gunhee was incredibly powerful if they were to fight one-on-one. Jin Woo doubted he could win. Gunhee was the first S-rank hunter in the country, and despite being over 80 years old, his body was still muscular and intimidating. Jin Woo realized that accepting this offer would open a new chapter in his life. However, he apologized and declined. Gunhee initially thought it was because of money, but Jin Woo clarified it wasn't about that. Jin Woo wanted to fight. The dungeon was where he truly belonged. His sincerity surprised Gunhee, who could see there wasn't a hint of deceit in Jin Woo's eyes. Gunhee placed a hand over his heart, wondering how long it had been since he'd felt this way. He silently wished he could turn back the clock by 10 years to stand beside Jin Woo on his journey. But that wasn't possible, so he let it go. Jin Woo excused himself, saying his younger sister was home alone. Watching Jin Woo leave, Gunhee was reminded of his own frustration, realizing that even an S-rank healer couldn't stop the effects of aging. Yet, the feeling surging through him now was like the fire of youth rekindled. He decided to cancel all upcoming appointments, unwilling to let anyone disturb his emotions. He even invited the director out for a drink, who readily agreed. Meanwhile, Jin Woo reflected on how the association could only manage low-level dungeons, like D or E rank ones, while he needed to grow stronger as quickly as possible to save his mother. The scene then shifted to the United States. Wang Dongsu, who had been beaten like a dog by Jin Woo's father, had finally regained consciousness. The deputy director entered the room to question him about a few things, specifically regarding the man named Sung Il-wan. The deputy wanted to know if that man was truly a monster. Filled with resentment, Wang Dongsu confirmed it. Currently, the bureau was trying to track down that monstrous man, though they weren't sure they could handle someone who had beaten Wang so severely. Hearing this, Dongsu fumed, seeing it as a humiliation. Before, Jin Woo's father had threatened him, saying if he dared to touch his family, death wouldn't be an escape. For an S-rank hunter to be threatened like that, it was a disgrace. Dong-soo vowed to exact revenge when the time was right. Back in Korea, Jin-woo was searching for high-grade equipment. The hunter profession was thriving, so many weapons were being auctioned online. However, the prices were exorbitant, leaving Jin-woo frustrated. He needed to fully equip himself to conquer the demon castle. Yet, none of the items in the stores caught his eye. The optimal solution seemed to be selling some of his rare items to raise funds for new gear. The problem was that people would question how an E-rank hunter had such rare items. He'd need to create fake evidence at an A- rank gate, making it seem plausible. Coincidentally, he came across information online about a recruitment for an A- rank dungeon raid. Perfect timing. The next morning, Chairman Goon-hee looked at an old photo of Jin-woo from 4 years ago and was shocked. Jin-woo had changed so much that he no longer resembled the naive boy he once was. Jin-chul provided additional details about Jin-woo's family situation. His mother was in a coma due to a severe illness. His younger sister was still in school, and Jin-woo's income was the sole support for the family. Meanwhile, they received surprising news that Jin-woo had just joined a large-scale dungeon raid organized by the Hunters Guild, but only in a miner's role, which was unexpected. At that moment, Jin-woo was officially working under the guise of an E-rank hunter. In large-scale raids like this, tasks were divided clearly. Combat teams focused solely on eliminating monsters, while non-combatants handled the rest. Inside the dungeon, Choi Jongin, one of the nation's top hunters, was personally leading the charge. He instructed everyone to step back while he dealt with the monsters himself. Jongin skillfully subdued them while ensuring that the corpses remained intact to retain their high resale value. He also reminded a sharp-nosed female hunter to be cautious of the dungeon's smells, warning her not to overexpose herself, lest she fall ill. Shortly after, the team returned safely, surprising Jin-woo, while he already knew they were incredibly strong. Seeing them conquer an A- rank gate without a single injury was truly impressive. Among the team, his attention was drawn to Cha Haein, a strikingly beautiful and powerful S-rank hunter. Her aura radiated overwhelming strength, making Jin-woo wonder how many people in the world could compare to her. At the same time, Cha Haein seemed to sense the presence of someone equally powerful. She turned to look for the source of the aura but found nothing. Leaving her puzzled, it felt like the presence of Chairman Goon-hee. But the trace disappeared instantly. Meanwhile, the excavation team, including Jin-woo, got to work. Jin-woo was eager to test how powerful the boss monster of an A- rank gate could be. While preparing, one of the other miners accidentally bumped into him. At first, the man intended to pick a fight, seeing Jin-woo's E-rank badge, but a single glance into Jin-woo's piercing eyes made him freeze and back down. Observing Jin-woo at work, the miner became even more shocked. What kind of E-rank could move like a beast of burden? During a break, Jin-woo asked for extra work, seemingly eager to help, but his real goal was to scout out the boss room. Excited by the challenge, he planned to use the 1-hour break to play a bit. Upon entering the boss chamber, Jin-woo's eyes lit up with excitement at the thought of fighting it. However, he held back. Killing the boss would cause the gate to close, disrupting the raid. Instead, he decided he'd just land one light hit to satisfy his curiosity. Just as he was about to act, Cha Haein appeared out of nowhere and asked what he was doing. Jin-woo was startled. He hadn't even sensed her approach. Jin-woo sighed, wondering what made him come up with the idea he just had. He pretended to be lost, telling Cha Haein there was nothing special, but she informed him this was the boss's room and warned him to stay away. As this situation affected many others, she was truly not someone to be underestimated. Earlier, he had seen the knife in his hand, but now it was gone. This was like some illusion. Since he apologized, she let him go outside. If he had provoked the boss at that moment, the entire mining team would have been wiped out. As he walked past her, she suddenly called him back. Cha Haein rushed over and sniffed. Startling Jin-woo, she noticed there was no unpleasant smell from him, but rather a pleasant fragrance, though she didn't dare mention it due to embarrassment. After checking his ID, she realized he was Sung Jin-woo, an E-rank hunter. Haein reminded him to be careful as he left, then let him go, wondering if his lack of odor was due to his low rank. When he returned to the team, Jin-woo reported being lost and meeting Cha Haein. The others thought he was lucky because they had only seen her from afar until now. She usually didn't take breaks to patrol like she had just done to ensure their safety. which earned her the admiration of many people due to her youth and attention to detail. Moreover, Hae-in despised the smell of other hunters because of her special physical condition, always needing a fragrant cloth to cover her nose. Jin-woo thought back to when she sniffed him and concluded that he didn't have the usual human scent, as the system had selected him, just like the Red Demon's words about him not being human. In the afternoon, work ended, and Jin-woo received his payment. The foreman praised him for being strong, which made their team work faster than the gathering team, and even offered him a long-term job with a high salary. But Jin-woo turned it down. The foreman didn't insist but asked him to work one more day, as there would be a raid on Gate A and C simultaneously. Jin-woo sensed something and asked. It turned out that the second raid team would be deployed, showcasing the strength of the Hunter Association, something no guild in the country could accomplish. Sending the second raid team to attack Gate A demonstrated the talent within this faction. That night, Cha Hae-in unexpectedly had someone investigate Jin-woo. The person on the other end revealed that Representative Choi had also asked for a similar task to be done. However, the information was not to be disclosed for now, which surprised Hae-in since this was the first time an E-rank hunter had been hidden by the association. Lying in bed, she compiled all the information about Jin-woo, his freedom of action in dungeons, being personally assigned for investigation by Choi Jong-in, and the association locking the data, making it clear that Jin-woo wasn't normal, especially since he gave off a fragrance that made her feel captivated. The next day, Jin-woo went to work and received warm greetings from everyone, which reminded him of past moments and made him smile. With his good mood, he worked in the dungeon like a machine, allowing the team to rest more. Afterward, they waited for the A-team to exit. Sun Ki-hoon approached, asking for help with transporting gear since their side was short-handed, and none of the others dared enter Gate A. Jin-woo agreed to go along, though the others tried to stop him, as Ki-hoon seemed to like him. Ki-hoon's team was much larger than the previous days, including 6 A-rank hunters and 3 B-rank. While they didn't have any S ranks, their strength was far beyond other guilds. Confident, they entered because this gate was considered weaker than the one Cha Hae-in's team had attacked. Inside, Jin-woo felt the magic power was less than in the previous dungeon and experienced an unease similar to when he was at the Red Gate. A female hunter from Ki-hoon's team tried to ease his tension, assuring him that their hunters were strong and that as long as they didn't act recklessly, everything would be fine. Ki-hoon wanted to succeed in this raid to have his team officially approved. When they sensed enemies, the entire team was ready to fight without needing orders, which surprised Jin-woo. As expected, the team was full of capable individuals. Their opponents were wolves, not too strong. The team coordinated effortlessly to defeat them. However, Jin-woo was puzzled as to why these creatures were here since they were only C rank. While this was an A- rank gate, he noticed the wolves wore collars, meaning they were likely being bred for work by someone. Jin-woo's bad feeling turned out to be right when a pack of high orcs appeared in various sizes. They immediately charged toward the team leader, shocking him, though he blocked the attack. The strike was powerful. The battle broke out, but the hunters were at a disadvantage since their skills had little effect on this species. The monsters are immune to magic damage, and the mage managed to use a binding spell on one, but it only held for a few seconds. The team summoned 2 fire warriors to assist, but this skill consumed a lot of Ki-hoon's mana, and just one monster managed to block them. The martial artist on the team was skilled, but the sheer number of enemies overwhelmed her, and she was quickly taken down. The healer had to work non-stop, and Ki-hoon saw the situation was critical, as the high orcs were as strong as A-level hunters. Naturally, the B-level hunters were under heavy attack, with one losing their arm but luckily being healed instantly. However, the healer became the target and couldn't save anyone else, forcing Jin-woo to use stealth to help eliminate the monsters. The healer was shocked when she saw one of the high orcs lose its head suddenly. But Jin-woo was simply weakening the monsters in silence to help the team defeat them. When the orcs stopped attacking, Ki-hoon was surprised and asked what was going on. Jin-woo skillfully kept his presence hidden and helped the team win. Fortunately, no one was injured further, and the healer later reported something unusual had happened during the fight. Team leader Ki-hoon asked if the big-breasted girl had done something, but she denied it. Other members also claimed they hadn't done anything. Only the girl in black noticed Jin-woo had used stealth. She felt Jin Woo was guiding everyone subtly, but didn't ask more, knowing he had his reasons. Some members of the team wondered if they should continue because it was too dangerous. But Ki-hoon decided to retreat to protect the team. He didn't want to risk everyone's lives. However, as they were preparing to leave, they found the gate was locked, and the barrier was too strong to break. The girl in black silently thanked them for retreating in time, as they would have surely been killed by the high-level mage otherwise. Suddenly, a massive surge of magical energy appeared, strong enough for even B-level hunters to sense. Meanwhile, their 3 mages were cursed as they tried to break the barrier. They soon discovered they were surrounded by an army of high orcs. Fully equipped, the leader approached, and Ki-hoon, realizing fighting would mean everyone's death, started negotiating instead. Kargalgan, the leader, appeared and demanded to meet with the team, offering them 2 choices: be killed here or follow him. Ki-hoon decided to compromise and agreed to meet with him, silently entrusting his hopes to Jin Woo. He advised Jin Woo to take the chance to escape when they saw the boss. As the barrier couldn't be maintained under attack, Jin Woo would contact the main team, who were ready to sacrifice themselves to close the gate. The situation became tense, but the team was very different from before. The healer also asked Jin Woo to pass on a message to her family, promising they would complete the mission until their last breath. But Jin Woo didn't want to die there, and she hoped he would survive and return. Meanwhile, Cha Hae-in came looking for Jin Woo but couldn't find him. She asked the excavation worker and learned that Jin Woo had entered the dungeon. Team A continued toward Kargalgan's lair, which housed thousands of soldiers. Even if they fought, they couldn't defeat them all. Kargalgan greeted them, saying they had finally arrived.